The KXAN News Podcast is sponsored by Shelf Genie.
Got tree debris? Hope you stacked it neatly. Why some Austin residents may have to wait months for it to be picked up. And Austin's plans to expand the airport just got pricier. The tens of millions of dollars the city has been ordered to pay to take over the South Terminal.
And sunshine back this evening, but another cold front is on the way. Your first warning forecast is coming up.
And thanks so much for joining us this evening. I'm Daniel Marin. Austin is still picking up the pieces after last week's ice storm. Trees line the roads. Some are still without power, and there are still many questions on where people can turn for help. That's why the city of Austin is setting up information and resource centers around the city. Nabil Ramadna is joining us live to look at why this is only happening now, a week after the worst of the storm. Nabil.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, this is Montopolis Rec Center, and this is the first multi-agency resource center set up this week. You can see there are phone charging booths here, and there's information just like this, helping people get what they need during this time of crisis. You can take a look. There are booths set up throughout here. There are resources like food. People can take showers here. There's ways to figure out the latest updates with Austin Energy, something for everybody. But one question that we had was, why is this coming now days after people have been left without power, and 99% of Austin Energy customers now have their power back?
On Tuesday, we sent out a variety of foot teams to neighborhoods identified by Austin Energy of having extended power outages, and actually did door knocking to see what it was that they needed. It would be foolish of us to set up a resource center and assume that we knew what those needs were. And so the information that we gained from those foot teams helped to inform the partners that we asked to come to this event today, as well as the locations that needed the support.
Now, these resource centers, they'll be up through Saturday. They're going to be changing locations. We have a list of those locations on our website, KXAN.com, or we'll have that up very soon here. But again, a lot of resources to offer people who are dealing with some very big issues, especially cleanup, and some people still without power. Reporting live in East Austin, Nabil Ramadna, KXAN News.
All right, Nabil, thank you very much. And the people helping to clean up in Austin after the storm say it could take months before their work is done. KXAN's Sarah Alsheh has a look at their efforts.
Yeah, you can see this Austin Resource Recovery crew behind me clearing out this debris here in this Circle C neighborhood. This is one of the areas of Austin that has hundreds of requests to clear out debris.
The agency has gotten 4,000 more requests since just Tuesday, meaning its 70 crews are working on answering more than 18,000 service requests.
If they haven't submitted a service order, it doesn't worry. We won't skip their house. We're picking up everything on that street, whether a service order was requested or not.
When it comes to Austin Public Works, they've completed more than 1,000 debris removal requests from public spaces. They say they're left with 550. They're working on a grid system approach where teams are assigned to clear specific sectors of the city. Within those areas, they prioritize routes for emergency responder access and higher traffic areas. Since Monday, Austin Public Works says it's covered about half of the city.
Now, crews say one way that people can help them out and speed along this process is by making sure that cars are not parked along the street so that they can easily get to the debris when they need to. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much. And work to clean up the debris at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center will take some time, too. Take a look at these images showing the impact of the storm. Lots of lost limbs due to the weight of the ice. But the center's director of horticulture tells us fallen debris can represent new life in the coming years. You can read all about that at KXAN.com.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist David Yeomans.
Well, it was a pretty wet 24 hours for many of us, but just as quickly as it came on Tuesday, it is out of here. The radar completely drying out in the past several hours. Not before leaving its mark, though. Not only heavy rain, but we actually saw some storms that technically qualified as severe. We never got any warnings from the Weather Service, but look at this. This was quarter size or even larger hail than that. Thank you to Tamara in Kingsland. That hailstorm was about 6 a.m. We also saw some really significant rain totals totals near LaGrange. LaGrange, 2.41 inches. We'll take it in the last 48 hours. Parts of Austin as well, getting over an inch. You can find your totals on KXAN.com. Beautiful evening after what a rainy day it was in many areas. 58 degrees under sunny skies on the Austonian weather cam. Coming up, we're tracking a quick warming trend, but another drop in temperatures as a cold front swings our way. Wind to plan on 2 widespread freezes.
David, thank you very much. A Canadian bus driver is facing criminal charges after crashing his bus into a daycare, killing 2 people and hurting half a dozen others in a Montreal suburb. A man who lives near the daycare said after the crash, the driver stepped out of the bus, took off his clothes, and started screaming. The 51-year-old man was arrested and charged with homicide and careless driving. Search and rescue teams from more than 24 countries are now on the ground in Turkey and Syria. But the survival window for those trapped under the rubble is closing rapidly. At least 12,000 people died after Monday's 7.8 magnitude earthquake. It is the world's deadliest earthquake in more than a decade. In northern Syria, aid groups are facing major obstacles in reaching a rebel-held enclave. Experts say most rescues occur in the first 24 hours after a disaster. After the 5th to 7th day, it becomes very rare. Illegal crossings at the U.S.-Mexico border hit a 2-year low in the month of January. The Department of Homeland Security says the number of encounters U.S. Border Patrol agents had with migrants dipped below 130,000 in January. That's the lowest monthly number since February of 2021. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told reporters last week he credits the decline to new Biden administration policies that opened legal pathways for some migrants to apply for asylum. Well, the city of Austin's decision to claim eminent domain on the south terminal at the airport was a costly one. How much a judge is ordering the city to pay. And eye drop recall. 2 brands, one at least sold on Amazon, now causing vision loss and blindness. And she's the Texan who's known nationwide as the grandmother of Juneteenth. We'll take you to the Capitol for the big unveiling of her portrait. As the city of Austin gears up for its airport expansion, it's out $90 million following a lawsuit from the operators of the South Terminal. We told you back in June, city officials authorized the start of the eminent domain process to clear the South Terminal property. The private company running the terminal, Lone Star Airport Holdings, fired back with a lawsuit against the city for breaking its 40-year contract. Originally, the city offered just under $2 million for the property. But now a Travis County probate court found $90 million is more suitable to cover the total amount of damages incurred by Lone Star. The airport's 2040 master plan will expand the Barbara Jordan terminal and build a new concourse. We've got more details on that plan and the lawsuit online at KXAN.com. Well, last week we told you about eye drops that could pose a severe risk to your vision. Doctors are urging you to check your medicine cabinets because many people are still using them. The maker of Esri Care Artificial Tears and Delsam Pharma have recalled the drops, and the CDC says stop using them. The contaminated eye drops are causing bacterial infections, blindness, and there's even been 1 death.
How much time does a patient have from when the eye drops go in to when they start to lose their vision? Is this a fast-moving bacteria?
If they don't seek emergency help, it can destroy the eye within 48 hours, but with proper attention or at least a medical intervention, it can be prolonged. But it's a very aggressive type of organism.
Well, ahead on Nightly News, the warning from doctors you shouldn't ignore. Well, just ahead, a new portrait on display at the Texas Capitol. You don't want to miss what Opal Lee has to say about it.
Well, we did get some decent rain across much of the area, but just since midnight, nothing very heavy in our official rain gauges. 0.09 of an inch since midnight at Camp Mabry, and a similar total under 1/10 of an inch at the airport. I'll show you the totals near you and some big swings in temperature coming after this.
This KXAN News podcast is brought to you by Shelf Genie. I'm Rosie Newberry from KXAN Studio 512. Considering replacing your kitchen cabinets? Struggling to find or reach things? Go to shelfgenie.com/Austin. Shelf Genie designs custom pull-out shelves for your existing cabinets, adding convenience and value to the most used room in your home. Shelf Genie custom pull-out shelves, everything in reach.
Well, if you don't know who Opal Lee is, after today, there's a good chance you will. As of today, there is a portrait of her hanging alongside other historic figures in the state Senate. Our multicultural reporter, Jayla Washington, joins us now to tell us about the civil rights activist.
Yeah, Daniel, well, Miss Opal Lee is known as the grandmother of Juneteenth. That's the holiday that recognizes the day Abraham Lincoln officially emancipated slaves in the U.S. She is 96 years young, as we like to call her, and played a fundamental role in getting Juneteenth recognized as a federal holiday. And a portrait hasn't been added to the Senate gallery, by the way, in more than 40 years until Miss Opal today. Just look at Miss Opal Lee's face, the grandmother of Juneteenth. It's the ultimate honor in this moment that's standing ovation worthy. The unveiling of her portrait on the Senate floor is a testament to her strong will and perseverance. Some say she brings out the best in everyone.
I was so happy and so humble. I wanted to do a holy dance, but the kids say I'm twerking when I do.
Miss Lee, she has always had a lot to say, but right here, she's sitting back and listening, though she could hardly sit still.
It gets no simpler than saying, receiving your roses while you're alive, darling.
Mrs. Opal Lee was inspired from an early age to seek to better the world around her and to become an advocate for social justice and civil rights.
She literally walks the walk. Back in 2016, she started walking 2.5 miles in cities across the country, symbolizing the 2.5 years it took for word to get out to all slaves that they were free.
How soon we gonna get started?
And crowds began joining her.
How are you feeling right now? Real good, real good.
Those walks led President Biden to sign a bill making Juneteenth a federal holiday back in 2021. And Lee is still fighting for civil rights.
People have been taught to hate. They can be taught to love.
That love is something she leads with. Her portrait now alongside just one other Black Texan who has ever been honored in this way.
We need days like this, Miss Lee. We have so much divisiveness in our society. This is a day that heals a lot of wounds and brings us together, and you're the cause for it.
Her spirit is strong, her heart humble. She wants others to stay inspired.
There's much to be done. Much.
Now, Juneteenth being recognized as a federal holiday, really special for us here in Texas because that is when slaves here learned that they had been officially emancipated. Now, Daniel, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, he is actually the one who suggested this portrait be created and hung up in the Senate. So he got a lot of props today for that. And then Senator Royce West eventually helped carry the process through. But just, it was incredible and almost surreal being in there today and kind of recognizing that historic moment.
And I know you said that a lot of lawmakers got behind bringing the portrait to life, right?
They did. In fact, the Senate voted unanimously to adopt the resolution for this portrait, Daniel.
And Miss Opal is still very vibrant, huh?
Very vibrant. She's like everybody's grandmother. I love it.
There you go. All right, Jayla, thank you very much.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist David Yeomans.
Well, 17 minutes after 5, and we did start off a little stormy with cold weather hanging through the day for many of us, but now the radar is not detecting a single drop of rain. This comes after just about everybody saw something, lighter amounts out in the hill country where it is certainly needed. But hey, east of Marble Falls, over an inch. Southwest Austin, 1.2 inches. Some nice totals near Pflugerville, and a little less in Bastrop. But look at LaGrange, over 2 inches of rain. You can always zoom in and get all the way down to your neighborhood on KXAN.com under the weather tab. Now, this is actually out in Liberty Hill on our Whittlesey Landscape Supply weather cam. It is just gorgeous. We're actually looking back toward the east where you can still see a few clouds clearing our eastern counties. It's warmer where the sun has been out since midday, 60 in Fredericksburg, warmer in Mason. But from Austin eastward, it's still a little chill in the air. 56 degrees right now in Bastrop, 58 at Camp Mabry. Rainfall always affects our allergies in one way or another, and today it did exactly what we expected. Mold went up, cedar went down, thank goodness, into the low category. There it goes, the spinning storm system that we had to deal with for about 36 hours locally. Now there's a severe weather concern in the deep south, but our impacts from it are about over. Sunshine comes back tomorrow through the weekend, but also some swings in temperature. A Pacific and a little Canadian influence in this front, still getting set up right now over the northern Rockies. This one doesn't arrive tomorrow, but it does arrive late tomorrow evening, really dropping our temperatures briefly as we head into the weekend. Tomorrow, how about a huge warm up to the 70s? But this dry, windy cold front bumps us down to jacket weather in the 50s. Friday and Saturday, a slow climb back toward the big game on Sunday afternoon. High temperatures at that time at 64. Overnight lows are going to be something to watch with this next front as well. They don't drop instantly on Friday morning, but as the winds settle down and the skies remain clear Saturday and Sunday, this will be two pretty widespread freezes. Downtown Austin, we may narrowly avoid a freeze on Saturday morning, but I think we will freeze everywhere on Sunday morning. Not quite time for the spring garden quite yet. Another thing we're watching with this front, a wind advisory may be warranted, according to the National Weather Service. Here we are tomorrow evening as the wind doesn't produce, as the front rather, doesn't produce any rain, but it does bring some gusty northwest winds into town by about 10 p.m. On Friday, here we are with northwest winds, 30 to 35 miles an hour. The big concern here, yes, there are still some people without power. Austin Energy crews told us yesterday they won't go up in their buckets to work on the lines if the winds are gusting over 30 miles an hour. I think that's going to happen for much of the day on Friday, unfortunately, before the winds settle down on Friday evening through the weekend. Tonight's forecast, clear and cool, 41 degrees with just a light southwest wind. May see a little patchy fog in our eastern counties by morning, but boy, what a beautiful day tomorrow. Sunshine, 72, that west-southwest wind responsible for the quick, albeit brief, warm-up. 54 and windy with dry weather currently expected behind the front on Friday. Aside from the cold mornings, a really pleasant weekend. But hey, this active storm track continues, and we've got another ½ inch to 1 inch of rain projected Monday and Tuesday of next week.
Well, just ahead, what a new study on ex-NFL players found about injuries, brain injuries, and the state that's considering a ban on tackle football for children under a certain age. Boston University just released a study this week that found CTE in 92% of former NFL players who took part in the study. Of the 376 former NFL players who participated, 345 were diagnosed with the degenerative brain disease. And yes, the University CTE Center says it intentionally provided this data ahead of this weekend's Super Bowl. The center's director says the NFL hasn't done anything substantial to prevent or diagnose the brain disease. And she also emphasized that the data does not mean that roughly 92% of all former and current NFL players have CTE, which can only be definitively diagnosed after death. The NFL did give Boston University $1 million in 2010 to help fund its research, but the director says she hasn't heard from the league in years. A New York state lawmaker has reintroduced a bill that would ban tackle football for children 12 and under. One group is already pushing back. They say their players don't even put on a uniform before learning the rules of the game. Tessa Bentalone reports.
Watching NFL stars play the game, especially during the upcoming Super Bowl, inspires kids to want to do the same. But there's a lot of controversy behind it.
While the Super Bowl is an awful lot of fun, it's not fun when you see young children run around, play a game that they are hitting their heads dozens, 100 times a week.
Democratic Assemblyman Michael Benedetto is pushing a bill that would ban tackle football for kids 12 and under in New York State. But a local football club says teaching kids the right technique at a young age sets them up for greatness.
You get a lot faster, you get bigger, you get stronger, and without the proper techniques on how to tackle and how to hit, then you could really see a lot of injuries at that level.
Billy Kent, the president of Schenectady Belmont Pop Warner Football, says having the right coaches who understand and preach safety is key.
All the coaches are certified and they have to go through a certain amount of training in order to be able to teach these things to the kids.
Benedetto and his Senate co-sponsor Louis Sepulveda shared research that shows the serious consequences hits to the head can have on players. A St. Peter's sports medicine physician says concussions are always a higher risk in any contact sport. Dr. Thomas Chatatil says one of the positives of playing as a kid is developing the skills, but it's ultimately up to the parent to decide what's best.
Depends on how you train your child and how much confidence you have in your child in their ability to keeping themselves safe.
Thanks for listening to KXAN News Nightly. You can also listen to KXAN News Today every morning for more in-depth coverage of what matters most to you.